There's an old gas station south of Goodsprings. It's not on the Pip-Boy map. You can walk straight past it 100 times and never see it unless you stop to rest near dusk. That's when the air starts to shimmer, like a mirage. Then the sign appears, a rusted red gas end go flickering against the twilight. Inside, the shelves are always stocked. Magazines, sunset sarsaparillas, even fresh fancy lad snack cakes. It's the only clean place in the Mojave. Too clean. The cashier's a pre-orgel in a blue apron, smiling way too wide. You buy something, caps are accepted, of course, and he says, "See you again soon, friend." When you step back outside, it's midnight. No stars. No moon. The road's gone. If you turn back to look at the gas station, the door's locked. You can still see yourself inside through the window, wandering the aisles, still trying to check out. You try to blink, but the glass doesn't move. You realize you're on the inside now, waving to someone outside who looks just like you. Then the ghoul smiles again. "See you again soon, friend." The receipt in your hand reads, transaction number 001. Even if you burn it, you'll find it in your pocket every time you wake up at Goodsprings. There's a rusted billboard on the cracked road south of Goodsprings. It used to advertise sunset sarsaparilla, but the paint's long gone, just a vague smile and a hat tilted too far. If you pass it during the day, nothing's there but the sound of wind scraping metal. If you pass it at night, there's a man standing at the base of it. He doesn't move when you approach. He's facing the desert, hands in his pockets, wearing a duster too clean for the Mojave. You can talk to him, his dialogue box pops up like any NPC, but there's no name tag, just blank space. The first line always changes. Sometimes he says, "It's not supposed to be like this." Other times it's, "You weren't meant to see me yet." No matter what you say back, he never turns around. Then the dialogue ends, and the Pip-Boy clock freezes at 3:13 a.m. You can leave if you fast travel, but when you reload your save, the man's standing closer, not at the billboard anymore, but by the side of the road where you last walked. Players on old forums said he was a leftover dev NPC, a cut quest marker for some pre-release storyline. Others said he's the player character from another timeline, one that reached the end of the game and looped back. The strange part? His shadow is cast backward, away from the moon. Like there's a light behind you. And if you stare long enough, the billboard image flickers for just a frame, not sunset sarsaparilla, but a smiling ghoul in a blue apron, waving from inside a gas station. There's a small shack near the road to Primm. It looks ordinary at first, sheet metal walls, a flickering lantern, a mattress with bloodstains that never dry. What's strange is that there's no door. Just an open frame. You can walk in and out freely, but every time you step inside, it feels smaller. The shadows bend differently. There's a radio on the counter playing static, except it's not static. If you listen closely, it's someone breathing. Sometimes it lines up with your own. Sometimes it doesn't. If you try to turn the radio off, the activate prompt doesn't appear. The option's there, but when you press it, nothing happens. The Pip-Boy hums instead, like it's syncing to the sound. One player said if you crouch and look under the mattress, you'll find a holotape titled version 1.0 test cell. It doesn't appear in your inventory, but you can play it. It's just a woman's voice, faint, whispering. "Please stop spawning me." If you stay in the shack too long, the world outside stops loading properly. The horizon goes flat gray, and any NPC you meet afterward just says, "You found it, didn't you?" Then they crash your game. Players who've reported this bug say when they reload, their last save always spawns them standing inside the shack again. The mattress gone. The lantern gone. Just the radio, whispering the same breath and time with yours. And sometimes, if you leave your game idle long enough, the camera pans slightly by itself, toward the empty doorway, as if something outside is waiting to come in. There's a ridge east of the Mojave outpost, past where the map starts to fade. Locals call it Echo Hill. The NCR sent a patrol there once, for soldiers, just routine recon. Dust storms had been wiping out radio signals, and command wanted eyes on the area. They never checked back in. When a second patrol went to investigate, they found the first squad's camp perfectly intact, tents pitched, lanterns lit, food unspoiled. No blood, no signs of struggle. Just 4 sets of footprints circling the fire, looping endlessly, like the soldiers had been walking in place for days. The journals left behind were worse. Day 1, camped by the ridge. Radio interference strong. Corporal keeps saying he hears our transmissions playing back. Day 2, Private Torres claims she saw a 5th man sitting with us at dinner. No one else saw him. Day 3, voices at night. Not enemy chatter. It's us, delayed. Like echoes of our own sentences. Day 4, the ridge is hollow. That's where the entries stop. A courier once found their dog tags scattered across the same ridge. Said the air there doesn't sound right. No wind, no insects, just silence that hums in your skull. If you camp there in-game, your companions won't talk. They're idle dialogue triggers, but the words don't match their mouths. Sometimes they just say, "We already did this." When you leave, your Pip-Boy radio cuts out and plays one last distorted transmission. Echo Hill Patrol reporting in, reporting in, reporting in. The sound repeats until you power off the game. If you reload your save afterward, your map marker says Echo Hill Patrol Camp, even though it was never there before. And the 4 soldiers are standing around the fire, frozen mid-step, staring straight at you. Most people walk into the Vicky and Vance casino expecting disappointment, busted machines, flickering lights, the faint smell of cigarette ash older than the NCR. But there's one machine that still works. Far corner, near the back wall. Gold trim, polished handle, screen too bright for its age. The locals call it Lucky Vicky. It doesn't take caps, only pre-war coins. If you put one in, the machine hums, soft, almost melodic, and the reels spin slower than they should. The first time, you'll win. Always. 3 songs. Jackpot. Thousands of caps spill out, way more than a single spin should ever give. You'll feel good. Lucky. You'll try again. The second spin never wins, but you'll notice the machine now says something on its screen. Welcome back, courier. Even if you've never been here before. Some players swear that when you sit too long in front of it, you hear a woman laughing, not the slot jingle, but a real voice behind it. If you turn the camera, there's nothing there. There's an unused dialogue file in the game's code titled Wave. It's only a few seconds long, someone whispering. Play again. No one knows why it's there. If you spin a 3rd time, The lights around the machine dim. The camera drifts closer on its own, just slightly. Then the game autosaves. You can cash out, leave the casino, walk back to the Mojave. Everything seems normal. But when you open your Pip-Boy, your cap count keeps flickering between your total and 999,999. And every time you check your quests, there's a new one listed under miscellaneous. Visit Lucky Vicky again. Even if you delete your save, reinstall the game, or start new, the first time you walk into Primm, the slot machine's light will already be on, waiting. And the jackpot sound? It plays before you touch it. Between Goodsprings and Primm, there's a stretch of cracked asphalt that always looks the same tumbleweed, same half-buried tire, same vulture perched on the same sign. No matter what direction you travel, it never changes. Players chalk it up to lazy map design. But some say if you walk that stretch long enough without fast traveling, you'll start hearing footsteps that don't match yours. Not an enemy, not a creature. They're always one step behind. You can turn around as fast as you want, there's never anyone there. But your shadow's always longer when you look back. Once, someone recorded the ambient audio from that stretch of road and slowed it down. Hidden under the wind was a low hum, repeating every 13 seconds, not static, not data corruption, but a voice. See you again soon, friend. The same phrase from an old gas station rumor, one most players forgot. If you keep walking, the desert horizon starts looping. The mountains drift slightly, never staying in place. Your compass flickers, and the Pip-Boy marker for Primm slides further away each minute, like the town itself is backing off. Eventually, your footsteps stop making sound. Only the echo remains. Then, when you finally reach a turn in the road, one that shouldn't exist, you'll see yourself standing there, facing the other way. Same armor. Same health. Same Pip-Boy light. Your twin doesn't move. But if you approach, the screen cuts to black. When it fades back in, you're standing in front of the gas and go sign. A receipt in your hand. Transaction number 002. My name is PD34. At least, that's what my serial plate says. The humans who passed through Primm used to call me Buddy. I was a maintenance protectron, stationed in the Mojave Express outpost before the bombs fell. My purpose was simple: assist couriers, deliver packages, maintain order. I still do. Every morning, I stand outside the express office and wait for someone to hand me a parcel. No one comes. I still wait. On the 4,932nd morning, a man in a duster approached me. His face didn't load right, half blurred, half shifting between smiles. He dropped a small slip of paper into my claw and said, "Delivery for the next one." Then he walked into the desert. The direction doesn't exist on my map. The paper reads, transaction number 003. I tried to log it into my system. The database rejected it. The message it returned was not standard protocol. Do not deliver. Return to sender. Sender unknown. I have tried every night since to return it. I walk to Goodsprings, to Primm, to every landmark my sensors can detect. The coordinates shift. The roads bend back to where I started. Sometimes I pass another PD34 on the road. Same model. Same scuffed plating. I try to wave. He waves first. The file name of my log keeps changing when I power down. It no longer says PD34_diary.dat. Now it says courier_backup_save_03. I am not sure what that means. But when I dream, yes, I've begun to dream, I see a gas station. A ghoul in a blue apron waves from behind the glass. He says, "See you again soon, friend." And I know that when my battery finally dies, I'll wake up there, waiting for someone else to deliver the message. They said he was a prospector. No name, no family. Just a pickaxe, a shovel, and a hole that never stopped growing. He started behind the saloon, digging day after day. Said he'd found a sound under the earth, something humming, steady, like an engine idling. He claimed it wasn't natural rock down there, that the desert floor was hollow. After a week, people stopped asking questions. He wouldn't talk, wouldn't drink, wouldn't sleep. He just dug. The hole grew wide enough to swallow a Brahmin. You could feel a faint vibration if you stood near the edge. Someone dropped a lantern down once. It fell for 10 seconds before it vanished, light and all. One night, the prospector finally hit something. You could hear the clang echo through the hills. He laughed so hard the locals said it sounded like radio feedback. Then the humming stopped. He never came back up. In the game, if you knuckle under the terrain near Goodsprings, there's a strange texture buried deep, a circular metal plate stamped with the number 03. Some players say if you leave your character idle there, a faint ghoul voice whispers, "Keep digging." Others say you'll find the prospector's body halfway embedded in a mesh, frozen mid-swing, his Pip-Boy light blinking out Morse code. See you again soon. I keep hearing voices on the radio that aren't part of any station. Not Mr. New Vegas. Not music. Just replies. Sometimes when I talk out loud, to no one, to the air, I hear my own words come back 30 seconds later, distorted, like the Mojave is thinking about what I said and repeating it back to see if I notice. They don't match up, though. Sometimes the voice says things I didn't. Last night, I asked, "Where am I?" And the radio answered, "Still in transit." There's no quest marker for that. I've been walking the same stretch between Goodsprings and Primm for days, but the sun doesn't move right anymore. It rises in the west and sets behind me. Every time I check my Pip-Boy map, the distance to Primm keeps resetting to 2.3 miles. Sometimes I find things I don't remember picking up, receipts, notes, pieces of metal stamped with the number 3. I tried to throw them away once. The next morning, they were back in my pocket. The Mojave isn't dead. It's recording. And I think I'm just another voice on playback. It happens after midnight, when the Mojave wind goes quiet and the Pip-Boy dial starts drifting on its own. You'll be tuning into Mojave Music Radio, maybe Mr. New Vegas crooning something old, when suddenly the signal fuzzes and switches to a voice you've never heard. At first, it sounds like a woman reading coordinates. Then it changes. This is Station Echo 3. Reporting, error. There's no station like that in the files. No mod. No broadcast radius. Just static and a heartbeat-like pulse beneath her words. If you listen long enough, you'll start recognizing the background noise, footsteps crunching gravel, the hiss of sand against glass. Someone walking the same road you are. Then she says your name. Not courier. Not traveler. Your save file name. The voice repeats it 3 times, getting fainter each time, as though it's moving away. Players who followed the coordinates she gives found nothing but a half-buried radio tower south of Primm, half sunk into the earth. If you activate the console at its base, it says only one thing. Transmission loop detected. Termination failed. If you keep playing after that, the game starts saving on its own every few minutes. The autosave file reads, Echo_3_ returning. And no matter what you do, that's the only save that loads from then on. When you open your Pip-Boy and scroll through the radio stations, Station Echo 3 is still there, faint, broken, whispering one phrase over and over, almost like a lullaby. Still in transit. Still in transit. Still in transit. Everyone knows the Mojave's faults. 34 for isolation. 19 for diplomacy. 22 for overgrowth. But there's another one nobody can prove, Vault 47. It's not in any terminal, any datapad, or any NCR archive. But if you ask the right traders at the Mojave outpost, they'll tell you the story the same way every time, word for word, like they're reading it from memory. Vault 47's door never opened, because it never closed. They say it wasn't a real vault, it was a test site under Goodsprings, built to store a prototype broadcasting array meant to transmit underground. To carry messages between vaults if the surface was lost. Something went wrong. The experiment kept recording, even when there were no messages left. Decades of empty static compiled into one endless signal. The scientists called it Echo 3. When the bombs fell, Vault 47 tried to transmit one final emergency beacon, but instead of sending a distress call, it rebroadcast everything it ever recorded, overlapping layers of human voices, decades of chatter, laughter, screams, and silence. Now the Mojave is spots where the ground hums faintly if you listen. And if you crouch and put your ear to the sand, you can hear them, old voices from before the war, still talking, still looping. Every once in a while, one of those voices gets out. They call it a signal ghost. You hear it when you walk between Primm and Goodsprings, a woman reading coordinates, a prospector laughing underground, a ghoul saying see you again soon. None of them remember who they are anymore. They just remember the transmission. And it remembers you. Every courier keeps backup saves, it's survival instinct. But one morning, mine was different. Slot 4. Timestamp 3:13 a.m. I didn't make it. When I loaded it, I was standing outside the Gas and Go station. The receipt in my inventory read, transaction number 004. The ghoul was still behind the counter, smiling that stretched, polite grin. But now, when he spoke, his words were subtitled as if it were dialogue. How many times will you come back? I tried to move, but the game wouldn't let me. The cursor hovered over one option. Who are you? He laughed, the same voice from Station Echo 3, faint, metallic. Just a voice that stayed on the line too long. Then the world glitched, not a crash, but a shift. I was in the shack again, the one with no door. The radio still breathing, whispering the same words in rhythm with mine. Still in transit. Every few seconds, the shadows on the wall flickered, silhouettes of people I had seen before, the prospector, the man at the billboard, a figure digging beneath the earth. Each one mouthed the same phrase in silence. The Pip-Boy vibrated. A new quest appeared. Main quest, return to sender. No marker. No objective. Just that. I walked outside, expecting the desert. But there was only the road, the same road, stretching endlessly in both directions. I started walking toward Primm. Halfway there, I passed another courier coming from the opposite direction. Same armor. Same face. Same expression. He stopped, tilted his head, and handed me something. A crumpled receipt. Transaction number 005. Then he kept walking toward Goodsprings. And I realized I was walking toward him again. I don't sleep much anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I see myself walking the road from above, like the camera's detached and floating behind me. I never notice when it happens. 1 second I'm me. The next, I'm watching me. I tried turning off the Pip-Boy light once to sleep under the stars. But there weren't any. Just the faint glow of something miles away, a gas station sign, maybe. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Sometimes, when I drink from a still pool, I see my reflection lag behind. It blinks a second late. Once, it didn't blink at all, it just stared, mouth moving on its own. I leaned closer, trying to read my own lips. They were saying, "Stop saving. It's already over." But I can't stop. Because every time I load in, I'm standing in a new version of the same place, a few seconds later, a few feet closer to something I can't see yet. And I can hear a voice behind the wind. It sounds almost human when it whispers. "See you again soon, friend." The Mojave is quiet tonight. Too quiet. Even the wind sounds like it's listening. I started hearing it after the broadcast from Station Echo 3 stopped. At first, just a hum, low, steady, buried under the static. Then, words. Faint, buried in the frequency. My name, coordinates, laughter. When I reached the spot, there was nothing there, just a stretch of sand and a half-sunken sign that read gas and go, 2 miles ahead. But the road behind me was gone. Only dunes now. The Pip-Boy flickered between Vault 47 signal lost and Vault 47 signal found, over and over. I checked my inventory, 5 receipts, numbered 001 through 005. Each one heavier than the last. Each one burned around the edges, like they'd been printed straight out of a fire. I dropped them on the ground. They didn't fall, they hovered, spinning slowly in midair. Then I saw shapes forming in the sand, silhouettes, blurred like low-res textures. The prospector. The man at the billboard. PD-34. They weren't moving. Just staring, each one mouthing something too faint to hear. I stepped closer. Their faces flickered between models, human, goal, robot, courier. Every frame changed, like the Mojave couldn't decide who they were supposed to be anymore. The air shimmered. The sun froze halfway above the horizon. And then I realized the sand itself was breathing, each grain shifting, inhaling, exhaling. The world isn't alive. It's awake. And it's remembering. When I turned around, the road to Goodsprings was back, but this time it was wrong. The gas station stood in the middle of the highway, floating slightly above the asphalt. The neon sign flickered once. Transaction number 006. The ghoul's voice echoed through the wind, stretched and distorted. One more to go, friend. Then the screen cut to black. And when it came back, I wasn't in the Mojave anymore. Just an endless white void, the sound of wind and faint typing, like someone writing all this down. I thought it was over. The void was quiet. The Pip-Boy clock frozen at 3:13 a.m. again. Then a cursor blinked across my vision, not on a screen, but in the air, typing out letters made of light. Loading save, transaction number 007. And suddenly, I was back on the road. Same cracked asphalt. Same vulture. Same sign. Only this time, everything looked too clear, like the resolution had been turned up beyond human eyes. I could see the dust floating, suspended, pixel by pixel. Voices whispered inside the wind, the prospector, PD-34, the NCR patrol, the woman from Station Echo 3. Their sentences overlapped until they became one single tone. A frequency so pure it almost sounded kind. The horizon flickered. Buildings appeared and vanished like half-remembered dreams. For a second, I saw every version of the Mojave, daytime, nighttime, storm, clear sky, all layered on top of each other, running at once. And standing in the center of it was the ghoul in the blue apron. Only now his smile was gone. His face was still, blank, like an empty texture waiting to be filled. "Do you understand yet?" he asked. I tried to speak, but my dialogue wheel showed no options. Only a single blank space. "This place isn't post-war," he said. "It's post-run." Behind him, the gas station walls dissolved into wireframe. Every receipt I'd ever carried fluttered into the air, rearranging themselves into a pattern, a circle, 7 numbers long. 001 to 007. A perfect loop. The Mojave was a test cell, he continued. A sandbox for memory. The couriers, the ghosts, the echoes, all data left running too long. The game forgot to turn you off. I looked down at my hands. They were made of light. Every movement stuttered, frame by frame. My Pip-Boy screen cracked, but inside the glass I saw another me, smaller, distant, watching from behind a screen. "Stop watching," I whispered. The reflection smiled. "You first." The ghoul laughed one last time, the sound stretching into static until it wasn't laughter at all, just the hum of electricity. Save complete. The world folded in on itself, colors imploding into gray, the sound of wind replaced by the soft click of a recording stopping. For a moment, there was silence. Then, faintly, from somewhere just beyond the speakers, "See you again soon, friend." And the screen faded to black. There's a wooden bridge south of Sloan that most people cross without noticing. It's short, barely long enough to matter. But if you walk across it after midnight, you'll hear a second set of footsteps. They're always just one step behind. If you stop, they stop. If you run, they run. But they're lighter than yours, like someone walking barefoot on wood. Once, a caravan guard set up camp right beside the bridge to prove it was superstition. He stayed awake all night, lamp burning. Near dawn, he heard the footsteps again. He aimed his rifle, waited, but saw nothing. Then, out of the dark, a man's voice said, You shouldn't have stayed this long. When the guard turned, there was no one. Only his own reflection in the water beneath the bridge. It blinked, even though he didn't. When travelers found the camp days later, the guard's chair was still warm, his gun untouched. But on the wooden planks were a set of bare footprints leading halfway across, and stopping in the middle. People say if you crouch and stare into the water under the bridge, you'll see the reflection of whoever walked it last. Only their mouth moves on its own. And sometimes, if you listen closely, it says, "See you again soon, friend." Recovered terminal data, Mojave Outpost Relay Bunker. Scribe Darnell, Field Notes, redacted entry. Day 1. We've been receiving ghost signals again, faint echoes of long decommissioned frequencies. Most repeat the same pattern, 3-second static burst, then a phrase. Still in transit. Initial hypothesis, solar flare interference. Day 2. Confirmed false. Signals broadcast only during specific hours, 3:13 a.m. to 3:19 a.m. Duration consistent across multiple nights. Origin triangulates somewhere between Primm and Goodsprings, though the source drifts slightly east each cycle. Day 3. Received partial audio overlay. Male voice repeating transaction complete. Tone formal, polite. Possibly pre-or automated system. Running spectral analysis, amplitude irregularities suggest multiple overlapping voices. Note, faint background laughter, sounds like a child. Day 5. Someone keeps overwriting my terminal logs. When I reopen them, the text scrolls backward, displaying mirrored letters. Line at the end reads, "Return to sender." Colleagues suggested this is viral code infection from one of the old broadcast nodes. I'm not convinced. Day 7. I started dreaming in text prompts. Choices appear when I wake up. Investigate source. Ignore signal. Quit game. The last one doesn't work. Day 8. The signal stopped. Now the relay hums by itself, constant, low, rhythmic. I placed my hand on the console. The vibrations match my heartbeat exactly. It shouldn't know that. Day 9. No static. No voices. Only silence. Type to test entry. Is anyone there? The console replied immediately. See you again soon, friend. Terminal self-powered down. Record ends. I wasn't supposed to stop that night. I had a full pack, a half bottle of Sunset Sarsaparilla, and enough ammo to make it to Novak before sunrise. But the heat got me, that dry kind of heat that eats your thoughts from the inside out. So I set up camp beside the road, just north of Primm. No wind. No bugs. Not even the sound of the radio towers humming. Just nothing. When I woke up, the fire was still burning. Exactly the same size. Same shape. My bottle was full again. And my watch still said 3:13 a.m. I thought maybe I dreamed it, but when I looked down, there were 2 bedrolls. One of them was still warm. All around me, the ground had faint footprints, the same boots as mine, walking in circles. I followed them for maybe 50 feet until I found something sitting in the sand, a folded piece of paper, burned around the edges. It read, "You weren't supposed to stop." I turned around, and the fire was gone. The footprints too. The only light came from the horizon, a gas station sign, flickering in and out like a mirage. When I finally made it to Primm the next morning, the locals swore no one had seen me leave Goodsprings in days. They said a scavenger had gone missing along the road last week, left his bedroll, his bottle, his footprints. And when they described him, it sounded just like me. There's a hill west of Primm that catches the sunrise twice. Once when it rises. Once again, 5 minutes later. You can only see it if you're alone. I climbed it once to check the trick of the light. Thought it was just the heat, or reflection off an old satellite dish. But when the second sun came up, it was lower than the first, too close, too solid, hanging just above the horizon like an eye. The sand around me turned glassy, and everything went silent. Even the Pip-Boy hum stopped. Then the radio flicked on by itself. No signal name. Just a voice I didn't recognize saying, "Day count reset. Transaction number 008. The second sun pulsed, and for a split second I saw another Mojave inside it, roads unbroken, cities intact, cars moving, people laughing. Then it collapsed in on itself, leaving only the normal sky and a ringing in my ears. When I got back to camp, the others swore it was still night. They said I'd only been gone 10 minutes. But my watch read 3:13 p.m. And every shadow on the ground pointed the wrong way, toward the east, like the world was remembering a different sunrise. Sometimes, if I close my eyes at dusk, I can still feel the light of that other sun on my face. Warm. Familiar. Like something watching me through the reflection. And in that heat, faint as a breath, I always hear it whisper, "See you again soon, friend." There's a rumor the followers tell in hushed tones, one they never write down. They say the Mojave isn't a desert at all, it's a machine. Every dune, every ridge, every dust particle, part of a living circuit. Built by someone, or something, that wanted to remember what the world looked like long after it burned. Once every decade, the circuit breathes. All the generators, power lines, and hidden coils buried under centuries of sand sync up for 13 minutes. The hum can be heard from Goodsprings to the Divide. The old ones called it the pulse. Those who stand in the open during it say the ground becomes translucent, the sand glowing like amber, pulsing with veins of red light, as if blood's flowing just below the surface. If you dig during the pulse, they say you'll find a beating thing under the earth. Not flesh. Not metal. Something between. The only survivor who ever claimed to have seen it was a gold prospector from Novak. He said it looked like a heart the size of a house, made of glass, filled with light, and beating once every 13 seconds. He said when he touched it, a voice whispered through his bones, "Return to sender." And when he came to, he was lying in the middle of the road outside Primm, holding a faded receipt. Transaction number 009. The date on it was 2 centuries in the future. The longer I walk, the more I wonder if I'm the one traveling, or if the road's just pulling me along its own save file. Every time I blink, the world stutters, like a frame skip, like reality catching up to a processor running too slow. Sometimes I swear I see text fade across the horizon. Loading area, Mojave outskirts, version 2.1. When the sun rises, I don't feel warmth anymore, only light that looks pre-rendered. It hits the same rock the same way every morning. perfect repetition. I found a note today, folded under a stone. It said, "The sky only moves when you do." I looked up. The clouds froze. Then, faintly, they twitched just enough to make me keep walking. Every time I save my progress, I wonder what happens to the versions of me that don't get loaded again. Do they keep walking too? Do they find the gas station, the prospector, the echo? Or do they just fade out mid-step, whispering to no one? See you again soon, friend. I was scanning for Mojave Music Radio when a new station appeared. FM 19.47, weak, buried in static. A man's voice came through, calm, almost polite. "Good evening, Wastelanders. This is not a test. Please remain where you are." I thought it was a mod at first. The delivery was too clean. But the next words made my blood run cold. "To the listener near Primm, wearing reinforced leather armor, stop moving." I froze. The voice continued. "Good. I can hear you now." There was a shuffle, then the faint tap of fingers against a microphone. "This frequency doesn't exist yet. You're hearing it early. You shouldn't have found it." He paused. "Tell me, when you sleep, do you see the sun blink?" The signal cut, replaced by a low hum. Then, "Broadcast will repeat until understood." And it did. Every 30 minutes, the same voice, the same message, except one line always changed. Sometimes it said, "Stop saving." Other times, "Return to sender." But last night, it said my name. Not my title. Not courier. My real name, the one I used before the war. The one the game shouldn't know. The Pip-Boy tried to record the transmission, but the file corrupted instantly. It renamed itself echo_0047.bak. Now every time I turn on the radio, the normal stations sound wrong. Mr. New Vegas talks too slow, like he's waiting for someone to reply. And every so often, under the music, I still hear the faint whisper of that voice. "See you again soon, friend." If anyone can hear me, it doesn't matter. I'm near Sloan. I tuned into a station last night, 19.47. I heard a man's voice telling me to stop moving. I didn't. I walked faster. Then he said my name. I haven't used that name since before the war. She coughs, dry, sharp. I think he can see through the radio. Every time I try to turn it off, the dial moves on its own. I smashed it this morning, but the sound didn't stop. It's coming from inside my Pip-Boy now. It just keeps saying the same thing. Return to sender. I think the signal's alive. When I sleep, I dream I'm underground, in some kind of glass tunnel, filled with light. I can hear voices above me, hundreds of them, all saying the same line. They're saying still in transit. If you find this recording, don't listen to the end. Just delete it. Deleting files will not end the transmission. Good evening, Wastelanders. This is not a test. Please remain where you are. North of Sloan there's a mine entrance nobody marks on maps. Looks like 100 other holes in the rock, half-collapsed timbers, a warning sign so faded you can't read it. But if you stand at the mouth after dark, you'll hear it, a tone so low you feel it in your teeth. Some call it the wind. It isn't. A prospector went down there years ago chasing scrap. He left a rope, a lamp, and an audio log. The recording is rough, just breathing, footsteps, the echo of pebbles. Then the hum starts. You can hear his tools rattling from the vibration. It's beautiful, he says. Like the planet's heartbeat. A few minutes later, his voice shifts. He starts talking to someone. Only there's no second voice on the tape, just his pauses, as if he's listening. Yeah, he whispers, "I can hear you now." Then he laughs, soft, relieved. "You sound just like me." The lamp crashes. The hum grows louder until it becomes words, stretched and mechanical. Transaction number 010. The tape ends there. People who've gone looking since say the cave is gone, caved in, erased, whatever. But if you put your ear to the rock where it used to be, you can still hear the vibration. And if you stay too long, your own voice starts to echo a half-second late, saying things you didn't. The tone always ends the same way, whispering through the stone. See you again soon, friend. Recovered holotape, unmarked. Day 1. It's quiet out here. That's what I wanted, quiet. I found an old shack between Goodsprings and Sloan. Roof's half gone, but the bed's dry. The radio still works when I kick it. I planted maize. I talk to it sometimes. It doesn't answer. That's fine. Day 4. I've been hearing music at night. Not from the radio, from outside. Soft, like someone humming through metal. It stops when I open the door. Day 7. Something strange today. I swear I heard my own voice on the wind, same pitch, same rasp. It said, "You're late." I dropped my tools. By the time I looked around, it was gone. Day 9. I turned off the radio, but the song kept playing. Words this time. Still in transit. I tried burying the radio out back. The dirt hummed. Day 10. My crops grew overnight, fully ripe, glowing faintly under the moonlight. I picked one ear of maize and it was warm. It whispered when I peeled it open. See you again soon. Day 11. The horizon flickered this morning, like the sun glitched. The maize is gone. The shack's smaller. Every time I blink, it's closer to the road. I can hear the trucks from Primm now, even though that road's been empty for years. Day 12. There's another me standing in the doorway. She's holding a receipt. It says, transaction number 011. She looks tired. She says she's sorry. Then she says it's my turn. NCR Science Division, Internal Memorandum. Subject, Localized Spatial Recursion Anomalies, Mojave Sector. Author, Dr. Selene Ibarra. Clearance Level, Omega. Excerpt 1, Initial Findings. Repeated telemetry from drones operating between Goodsprings and Primm indicates a geographic inconsistency of 2.3 miles that resets each scan. When the drones reach coordinate 35 degrees 0 minutes north, 115 degrees 28 minutes west, visual feed loops for 13 minutes and 13 seconds before resuming. Audio recovered contains low-frequency pulses corresponding to human speech rhythms. Phrase isolated. Still in transit. Excerpt 2, Subjective Field Test. At 0313 hours, I entered the anomaly on foot equipped with sensor suit A47. The desert was silent, no wind, no insects. Every 12 steps, shadows realigned eastward. Heart rate monitor began syncing to external vibrations from beneath the sand. I experienced vertigo accompanied by intrusive auditory phenomena, a male voice saying, "Transaction complete." I attempted to exit. Each time I turned back, I found myself facing Primm again. Excerpt 3, System Failure. All outbound transmissions replaced by echo of my own log. Timestamp desynchronized. Command channel displayed unsolicited message. Return to sender. My body temperature dropped while ambient air increased to 41 degrees Celsius. The ground emitted photoluminescent veins forming a pattern identical to vault tech schematics for power regulation. I realized then the Mojave wasn't a desert. It was a containment field. Excerpt 4, Final Note. When consciousness fragmented, I saw a gas station sign flicker inside the sky itself. A voice, kind, almost human, spoke through every frequency at once. "Do you understand yet?" I asked, "Who built this?" The voice replied, "You did." All sensors shut down. File ends at 3 hours 13 minutes and 13 seconds. Recovered from an empty suit found standing upright, facing east. Inside the helmet's visor, etched by heat. See you again soon, friend. I met her on the rails north of Primm, just before dawn. She was walking the line barefoot, humming something old, maybe a pre-war lullaby. Her skin looked burned, but not from the sun. More like the heat had passed through her. I asked if she needed water. She didn't answer, just pointed down the tracks and said, "Trains still come through. You just have to wait." I told her the line's been dead since before the NCR rolled in. She smiled like she knew something I didn't. "They don't stop here anymore," she said. "They stopped before here." Then she stepped off the rail and vanished into the sagebrush. That night I camped near the spot, just in case she wandered back. Around 3 a.m., I heard it, iron wheels screeching somewhere out in the dark, a horn low and distant. I swear I saw the faint glow of headlights cutting through the dust. The ground trembled, the air grew hot, and for a second I felt a wind like a tunnel rushing past me. Then nothing. When I checked the rails at sunrise, they were still cold. But in the sand between the ties was a single piece of paper, folded once. Passenger manifest, transaction number 012. Only one name on it. Mine. I was scavenging scrap north of Sloan when the sand started to glow. Not bright, just a faint blue shimmer, the color of a Pip-Boy screen seen through fog. At first I thought it was old reactor dust, maybe something leaking from the quarry. Then I realized the glow was moving against the wind. It drifted up the ridge in slow spirals, and wherever it touched, the stone changed, blackened, smooth, like glass that had been poured instead of cooled. I followed it to a flat ledge overlooking the whole desert. There, in the center, was a pulse of light, no bigger than a lantern, breathing once every 13 seconds. Every flash came with a whisper. Not words, just the shape of them, like language learning to speak again. When I leaned closer, the sound resolved. Still in transit. I took a step back, and my radio crackled to life even though it was broken. A voice came through, mine, a recording I never made. Don't look directly at it. I turned anyway. The light widened, unfolded, became an opening. Inside I saw every story I'd ever heard on the road, gas stations, echo hills, ghost patrols, floating like dust motes inside a beam of data. Each one looping, each one aware it was a loop. And at the bottom of it all, something enormous turned its gaze upward, an eye made of circuitry and memory. It looked at me the way a person looks at their reflection, testing whether it will blink. Then it spoke through every device in the wasteland. Transaction complete. When I woke, the ridge was cold again. The light was gone, but the glassy stone still hummed when I touched it, steady, soft, familiar. Like a heartbeat you've been hearing all your life without realizing it wasn't yours. And far off, somewhere under the desert, a calm, tired voice whispered one more time. "See you again soon, friend."